Most contractors think that hiring a project manager will free up their time. What really happens though is missed deadlines, confused crews, and wasted money unless you set up the right systems and structures first. Watch this video before you hire and save yourself months of regret. So, the first thing that you want to do before hiring a project manager is make sure that you are estimating for a project manager so that your financials are proper, so you're not running into a whole lot of hot water after hiring a project manager, realize that you have all these expenses that you haven't counted for in your estimating. So how I would go about this is you need to have a separate line item somewhere separate inside your estimate for project management, however you want to word that, for the client facing side of it, but you need a specific line item to know how many hours are you estimating and accounting for in order to manage this project, whatever it may be. If you are just doing this on a percentage basis and your markup, you have no way of really tracking how long or how much money you should be making from a project manager because now it's no longer going to be you. You're going to be hiring someone and paying someone specifically for that role. So the way to think about how much time this is going to take is typically how many hours are you spending a day managing a project. Increase it a little bit because a new project manager coming into the company is probably not going to be as efficient as you are with managing everything because you already know how things are get done. And you're probably kind of rushing through stuff because you got a lot of other things, whereas they're more dedicated to the project. So on like a new home build, this could be 1 to 2 hours a day, potentially, depending on like how many projects you expect them to manage at one time. And this will include a lot of different things, but all the communication, scheduling, ordering, talking with clients, all that stuff, right? So if you figure this home is going to take about 6 to 8 months, whatever it may be to build, it's going to be 2 hours of project management time per working day. You can extrapolate that into whatever, maybe 100, 200 hours project management time. You times that by $100 an hour or 140 or 80 or whatever is kind of the going rates or what you think is applicable, depending on, how much you can, how much it's going to cost, to pay them, plus all your burden rates and stuff, plus some contingencies on top of that. So that's like the first thing is start putting that into your estimates if you're not already doing that. The second thing is to be able to track this. So for yourself, you need to get disciplined. And you probably, if you're a business owner, you're probably not tracking your time like an employee would, and you need to start doing that. So if you've got, the Smith project that you're building right now, you need to start tracking your time for that project of how many hours per day am I spending on all the little tasks that I would now be delegating to a project manager? And this way you can start that feedback loop of, I calculated 120 hours of project management time for this project. How long did it actually take me? How much time do I actually need to, estimate for the future? Because the last thing you want to do is kind of lowball the project management time, hire someone, and now they've gone over your budget and you're paying out of your pocket and you're not making any money on a project, which it puts you back, where you started, right? So very important, make sure you're estimating properly and you're tracking your time properly for the project management side of the project. All right, you with me here? Number two is dial in your scheduling. So now you know the financials are correct. Now you got to make sure your scheduling is correct. If you are just winging your schedules and just we get it done as fast as we can, you put someone else in that position, guaranteed you're setting them up for failure because any competent project manager needs to be working from a schedule. And if you don't have some sort of system process in place for scheduling projects, you're asking for disaster. You should have some project management software that has scheduling in place or a standalone project management solution like, Microsoft Projects or something like that. Whatever it may be, you should have a Gantt chart view, you should have like a list view, whatever you need to in order to schedule project. And the things with scheduling that you want to be thinking about if you're just kind of building this out. And if you want to learn like the best way to build these systems and processes out, whatever they may be, project management, estimating, whatever in your business, check out the links in the description below. We've got a free masterclass, Chaos to Control, of the easiest, quickest three-step solution to creating systems and processes in your business so you can get out of the day to day and do what you do best with growing your business and having some free time without all the crazy, mental catastrophes that come along with running a construction business. So with scheduling, the first thing is you need a template. So typically you're going to build a template on whatever is the most common project you do or the largest type of project you do. Build that template first, and you can modify that for the other types of projects that you need to do. This will save you a ton of time with each project. You've already got a set standard. And most projects are going to have similar phases of the project. There might be line items or different things, but all the projects are typically going to have, some pre-construction, you're going to have demo, you're going to have framing, you're going to have drywall finishing, your trades in there, right? So there is pretty much a standard format for any type of contracting, like general contracting construction project. And then you just delete things out of there or scale it up and down depending on the size of the project. So you need that in place so your project managers have something that they can utilize to make sure that they're staying on track. Things that you are often forgot about that you want to make sure that it's in your scheduling is ordering, so making sure things are ordered in time. We know we're installing cabinets in 3 months from now. Cabinets take about 60 days to get the order in, and then another, whatever it is, 40 from measurements or whatever it may be, right? So when you need the product, whatever the delay is for things like windows, doors, cabinets, countertops, whatever it may be, and then add a little extra buffer to that because you want to make sure you're ordering ahead of time in case if anything happens with shipping or out of stock or whatever, right? So this way everything is ready when you need it. So ordering, very important part of keeping in the schedule. Beyond that, you're going to have your inspections, client meetings, any like it's not just the trades and the different trades of like who's doing the work one after the other, but things like inspections, all this kind of stuff, and then some buffers in between. Buffers will save your ass at the end of the day. If you are scheduling your, HVAC and then your plumber and then your electrician like right on the day after each other, you know that someone's going to go over schedule or weather's going to happen or some guy's going to call in sick or whatever, right? So have a day buffer between major trades or major phases. Have 2 days buffer maybe after inspections because if something fails on the inspection, you got to call someone back to fix it before you can move on to the next thing. So just be proactive with having a little bit of contingency in your schedules so that you can stay on track and not have to like move the goalpost of the schedule. And this is where you get to the schedule. The client's like, why are we, a month over schedule? Well, it was, we were 2 days late here and then a week, late there and whatever, right? It all snowballs. So have those buffers in there. So that's the big thing about scheduling and utilizing a schedule for your project manager coming into your company. You want to have this down pat before you hire someone so that they can utilize this and stay on track. Number three. All right. So number three is quality control and monitoring. And this is where reputation can take a dive. You hire a project manager, you throw them into the fray, and and hopefully they do good, hopefully they don't. And that's obviously a recipe for disaster. But you want them following your system, and you want to make sure that whoever it is, whatever their background experience, they're meeting certain standards of quality, and that things aren't being forgotten about too. That will come back to cost you a lot of money, or just extend that schedule at the end of the project because now you got this like gigantic list of punch list items that need to get done. So as far as the checklist, there's kind of like certain time frame checklists and there's quality control checklists. So time frame checklist would be like a pre-construction checklist. Do we have a finalized budget? Have we ordered all the materials that we need? Do we have the selections done? So like certain things before in the pre-construction phase, and then also the start of the project. So do we have portage on site? Do we have site signage up? Do we have safety materials if we need it? Do we have whatever, right? So all that stuff for the site start and mobilization, as well as like the closeout process and punch list and all that stuff. And then there's going to be certain quality controls of concrete, framing, drywall, insulation, whatever it may be, right? There's going to be all these different things that need to be checked off and someone and visually inspect and make sure that they're all good before moving on to the next phase. Because if you're hiring a project manager and they're going to have a various amount of experience, they've worked at another company, maybe they did their own thing, whatever it may be, and you don't have like a standard list, like checklist items for them to work off, it's going to be super inconsistent. You're going to have issues and you're going to be having these reputation hits where you've probably been managing things and like you're the expert, right? So you have a certain level of quality in your business. Now you hire a project manager. They're not going to be up to your level of quality or experience, most likely. And that means that things are going to get missed. Reputation is going to take a hit, and you're going to be the one, holding the bag at the end of the day, paying for all that. So, not what you want to do. Now, also with the monitoring, like that's all the checklists that need to get in place. The monitoring side of it is, what should they be doing daily, weekly, bi-weekly, whatever it may be. So weekly, taking pictures of the site, making sure all the trades are scheduled properly. Every probably week, I would say they should be sending a client update. Potentially, they should be looking ahead, what trades are coming up, who do I need to call, make sure that the trades are on time. They know when they're starting, they know when they're stopping, make sure that everything is in line with the schedule, adjusting the schedule or budget or change orders or whatever, right? So these are certain things that they need to be doing on a daily, weekly basis and monitoring. And you should have that outline and communicated to them in some sort of document or training so that they know what, you know, what the gameplay is here before we start throwing Hail Marys and things like this to guys that just don't understand. All right, you with me here? Number four. So this is a huge one. I would say the most important part of project management, the number one skill of project management is communication. Now, of course, there's all these other systems that I've talked about that you need to get in place, but communication is essentially project management. You're communicating with all the stakeholders, communicating to make sure things get to site, communicating to make sure that little rough patches are smoothed out with the client or trades or whoever, communicating to motivate people to show up on time, to get their job done on time, to clean up the site, and to make sure that they're actually doing their job properly, right? So communication is huge. And because it's so important, yet so few companies have some sort of a form of communication training or communication documentation of like how do you want your project manager to be talking with clients? How often should they be calling the clients? How often should they be sending them an update email? How should they be managing trades and calling trades and giving them heads up? What kind of reporting are they responsible for to give you to let you know if the budget's going over, schedule's going over, someone didn't show up? How do they do that? Where do they do that? Right? So all this communication stuff that needs to be ironed out before you hire the project manager, and again just kind of throw them in there because that's where inconsistencies come with. And the problem with hiring someone and just hoping they'll take care of stuff is you're not creating a business, you're not creating a system, you're just getting more work done, and you're making more work for yourself because you're going to have to pick up the pieces and you're going to have to train and babysit and watch all these project managers, or worse off, you're going to hire them. They're not going to do what you want because you haven't communicated or have the systems in place for them to do what they need to do at the level of experience that they have. You're going to end up firing them, or it's not going to work out, and then you got to repeat the process all over again. And this is where you get in that hamster wheel, that catch 22 of being a contractor. So making sense here. I enjoy project management. It's one thing that I do miss doing from back in the day when I used to do it. It's a lot of fun, but it can be super frustrating. And if you don't have this stuff set up, that project manager coming in is going to be on that super frustrating side instead of that like, yay, we're doing awesome work and getting shit done and like building amazing stuff and clients love us. And that's the side of like this whole PM thing that you want them to be on, not the like this contractor has no systems. I don't know what I'm doing. I got in way over my head here, and and you're pissed off. They're pissed off, right? So moving on, number five. So this is again, check out the links in the description below for our free masterclass on how to build systems in your business because number five is SOPs and training videos. So we've talked about kind of the different systems and components that you need to get into place. How this all kind of like the tangible asset, if you will, that goes into your company is you need an SOP document for project management that's going to list like scheduling. This is how you schedule. This is how you should be thinking about scheduling. This is what to do when the schedule goes over. Communication. This is how you communicate. This yada yada yada. Checklist. So all the for me, the SOP document, you have everything in there. Your standards, your checklist, your communication, everything. I like a large SOP. It should be very structured and organized. But the reason I like to have one project management SOP is so that everything is in one place and the project manager doesn't have to go hunting around for like, oh, is that a scheduling SOP or does there trade management SOP? How do I like use the software? Where's that, right? It should all be in one place, super organized, in depth, and built out. Stick around. We are moving along in this video. On the last point I'm going to mention is kind of the big moment and where you're going to be like, that is perfect. I can't believe how useful that's going to be. I need to do this like yesterday. where a lot of people miss the boat on hiring a project manager without realizing how effective they can be at helping you save time and get a whole nother chunk of your business off your plate just beyond the project management. So stay tuned for that. After the SOP, you're going to have the training video. Training video is essentially you either communicating or going through a screen share. So if you're showing like them how to build a schedule and project management software, just do a screen share, Zoom, Loom, whatever. There's a whole bunch out there, and pull it up, work on an estimate, talk through it, and just let them work on that, right? If it or like an estimate or schedule or whatever it may be. As far as like site videos. You don't need to go overboard on site videos, I believe. I'd say if you find some good resources online, like videos even on YouTube or whatever, have like a bit of a knowledge base of like training for a project manager. We have our own online training course for project management. Something like that where you can just provide that to the project manager, give them like training of the actual position, specifics of how they do things on site and all that. You can make quick videos explaining it as needed. So those are the two big components: an SOP and a training video to get them trained up. Now you congratulations, way to go. You're now at a point where you can start thinking about hiring project manager. If you're thinking like, wow, this is going to take months. Yes, it might. But with doing this in those months, you're going to have such a better experience and you're building a business that can run without you, that can last, that is more than just people. You're actually building systems and foundation for doing business into the future and being much more profitable and a much better client experience for the clients that you're handling. So number six here is ideal employee hiring. So you've got all the systems built out now. The last sort of piece of the puzzle to this process is now you need to have some consistency with the project managers that you're hiring into your company. And that's sort of the last kind of system to build out here is who is that perfect project manager for you? What is their experience? What is their background? What is their temperament, their personality, their what kind of attributes and characteristics and things are you looking for? The clearer you can get a picture of that, the better you're going to know if people that you're checking their resumes or hiring, meeting them in person, do they like fit that category? Of course, not everyone's going to fit in a nice little box and be that ideal employee, but at least if you know where you're starting from, you can see how far off people are left or right, and whether you're okay with that, and you're going in and like, yeah, maybe they don't have quite the experience, but like culturally and characteristics, and they've shown a track record of success. I'm willing to take a little bit of a gamble on this person. They may need more training, but I think long term is better for the business, right? Instead of just like hiring that person that's like, wow, this guy's got lots of experience. I can just plug and play him into the business. And then, but you don't realize that culturally and long term, he's not a good fit. So having that ideal employee knowledge is really important. And then the last piece, because project management is a leadership position inside of a company, they're going to be leading crews, they're going to be leading even clients, they're going to be leading the tradespeople and different actors that are coming into this project. Any kind of management position, you need to make sure that you are having them do an interview with your other leaders in your business. So if it's just you have a site foreman, superintendent, have that person meet them. If you've got, whoever it may be, but other management or key kind of office personnel in your business, have them meet them without you in the picture, without you in the room. Just say, hey, go to site, meet my crew foreman. I just want you to say hi to them or whatever, right? Get that second opinion, because you as a business owner, I fall into this category too. Like, I'm very optimistic. I like people. You're probably good at like sales to some extent, so you're easy to sell yourself on why this person's cool or amazing or good, or you just have a good, you connect with someone, and then sometimes that like glosses over their actual qualifications or ability to like get along with people, what have you. Whereas like your superintendent on site, they may have a better like acumen or intuitiveness as far as like, is this like someone that I think is going to get along with the guys? Is there something off? And they also might be a little bit more loose talking with a superintendent or somebody else in the business that's kind of more on their level or even like junior to them, what they think, than the boss, right? Because you as the boss, they're probably going to be a little more tight-lipped. They're probably going to try to tell you what you want to hear and those kind of things. So make sure that you are interviewing that you're interviewing them, but you also have your team interviewing them, and get their honest feedback and opinion before you make a decision. This will also let your team know that you value their opinion and that they're not coming into this like, hey, yeah, we hired a new project manager, starts on Tuesday, now he's going to be managing you, right? It's at least they have some warm up and some, a little bit of rapport built before you actually bring them on board. So really important to do that. Now, number seven, the one I mentioned before, and this is like the boat that a lot of contractors miss with project managers is your project manager should be doing estimating, especially if you are still running everything in your business and this is your first project manager that you hired, then they definitely you want to have a good estimating system and you want to get them like all working on estimates. Maybe at first you want to keep things simple and they're just managing projects because you got a lot of project management. You're still going to be doing the estimating, but you should slowly be working them into the estimating role because first of all, they're going to have better idea of budgeting and they're also going to have just a better experience because they will have estimated projects that they're working on and this will give them a better they'll be able to manage the project better because they already know what they accounted for and they'll all be familiar with the project before it's like here's the project, you give them the plans and they meet the clients and whatever, but they don't really have that background of like going through the plans, doing takeoffs, figuring out, yada yada yada, what else is in there. So that's great. Plus, it's going to get it off of your plate. So you got less things that you're accountable for and need to do, and you can, start to delegate and systematize other parts of your business. The big thing with estimates is having some templates. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into the estimating process, so I can feel like that can be daunting. But just as we went through all the systems in project management now, you can do all that in estimating and then pass that off. The way to get started is start them on like easy jobs that are either smaller or very standard type jobs. Again, you want to set them up for success early on. Don't give them some huge like custom home with a whole like number of different, options to estimate or anything like that. Something easy, get them started and then work with them through that. And just realize that they are probably going to be like 70, 80% as good as you are. So it's going to take them a little bit longer. It's going to be less accurate. They're probably not going to word things correctly, and that's okay. You need to start somewhere, and then you can improve over time. They can improve over time as you review more of their estimates, and you're always going to have that review. So if you can at least if they can save you that time of like getting it 80% there, and then you guys review together and you tell them like, oh, you missed this, or I'm not sure about this, or this pricing's off, or whatever, right? So you're always there. It's always going to go through you before it goes to the client, but they are now learning from you and you've got this off your plate essentially. So those are the big 7 steps to getting a project manager in place the right way. That's going to make things so much easier. And now it's a repeatable cycle so you can just scale and grow and life is good. Remember to get that free masterclass I mentioned in the description. It's going to help you get started with building these systems out. I'll see you on the next video.